You may recognize this painting from your art era on Pinterest or the textbook you only really cared to look at the pictures in. At least, if you didn't, that's pretty much all my experience was with this painting up until around last year when I went to the Louvre and seeing this painting completely changed the course of my life. Not really, I just saw the plaque description and I thought that's a pretty cool story and haven't thought about it since. Fast forward to now, I have this final for my art appreciation class where I'm going to be doing an in-depth look into a piece of art history by Da Vinci because, of course I would, he's known as one of the best painters in history. So, I scurried my way over to Wikipedia and I was trying to find a pretty painting that I could pretty much just stare at and contemplate my inferiority for half the project. And lo and behold, it's the painting I remembered was cool from the Louvre. So, here we go. I'm Thomas Marks, and I'm going to be discussing an in-depth history of the painting Bacchus, and why it was so controversial at the time. Bacchus is an oil painting made from 1510 to 1515, originally on wood, but it was transferred to canvas in the late 1600s. I'll get into why a little bit later in this video. Here, I have a funny story for you. Originally, going into this, I thought this painting was done by this guy right here, Leonardo Da Vinci, but after looking into it, nope, wasn't even painted by him. It was actually painted by a student in his workshop. Researchers do not know exactly who it is that painted it, but 3 names come up as options, which include Cesare de Sesto, Bernazzo, and Francesco Melzi, or it could literally be anyone else alive at this time, because this was a few hundred years ago, and there's no official documentation of who actually painted this work. Now, like I said, this was hundreds of years ago, so how did researchers figure out that it wasn't Da Vinci who painted this piece? People know that Bacchus was painted by a student instead of Da Vinci himself from a few small details in the painting. The painting has a very strong use of lighting techniques and detail on Bacchus himself, along with some close-up plants on the left side, but the entire background looks pretty much straight out of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs with how 2D it looks. Doesn't really help Bacchus look very realistic, does it? People were led to believe that it was a simple practice in painting people from a student rather than a finished work because of this lack of effort seen in the background, which differs greatly from the beautifully detailed scenery seen in his other works, such as these paintings you might recognize. Anyways, now that we've figured out that this was not actually painted by Da Vinci himself, aka straying away from the entire goal of this research project, let's keep learning about it and hope that this fact does not make me lose points. When we look at this painting today, what is there to see? We see a man, aka Bacchus, the Roman god of wine, adorned in a crown of vines and berries, and covered by a leopard skin, sitting alone holding a thyrsus, which is pretty much fancy Greek/Roman mythology talk for a staff. This painting didn't actually always look like this, though. You gotta go back to the beginning. This painting was originally made to depict St. John the Baptist, titled St. John the Baptist in the Desert. St. John originally had no crown of leaves and was holding a small cross rather than the thyrsus, and he was pointing up to it, which we can still see in the painting today. This was to convey a message to viewers to look to God for guidance, aligning with Christian ideas that St. John represented. The muse referenced in this painting, though, is a man named Salai, who was qualified as one of Da Vinci's students and lovers. This homosexual muse, representing a spiritual character, did not go well with the Christian Church, so at some point between 1683 and 1693, they had an unknown artist come in and paint on the crown of vines and turn the cross into a simple staff, turning it into the current state of how we see the painting today. This was to wholly separate themselves from any trace of gay people, as the Christian Church has done multiple times in history. Remember when I said this painting was moved from wood to a canvas? Yeah, that's why this move happened. This completely threw the original story out the window of looking to God for guidance, and now it's pretty much just a painting of Bacchus pointing at a stick. Maybe he just really loves that stick. Either way, people decided to come together to create a whole new story for this painting. This new story makes use of the visuals of Bacchus pointing to the skies, symbolizing God, speaking to viewers that Da Vinci is now telling the Christian Church, who changed this painting and did not accept homosexuality, that only God can judge him for whatever sins he may have committed in his life, along with judging all of the church members for their own sins as well. So, this new story pretty much makes Da Vinci a gay icon, right? I don't know if I have the ability to say that, but I did forget to mention one small detail. Yeah, so remember Salai? Yeah, so about him, researchers have figured out he was about 12 years old when he was Da Vinci's muse and lover, so probably not the best gay icon. But hey, at least Jennifer Coolidge exists. To close off, I hope you learned at least one new thing about this painting and its history. This video may have had a few jokey sections, but this piece of work really does help us understand the history of Leonardo da Vinci, along with how people can change the basic foundational ideas of an artwork as time goes on in history. To say it one more time, this was Thomas Marks doing a history on the painting Bacchus by not Leonardo da Vinci, I guess.